Hey everybody, welcome to Studio HFL. I'm your host, Larry Powell, and this is a reissue of my third interview, the very third interview that I had done. And this is with a professor of trumpet at the University of Louisville, Reese Land. I think you're going to enjoy this interview. And one of the reasons I'm reissuing these early interviews is that now I can include them on YouTube with subtitles, and that you can get a copy of the transcription of these interviews if you are a Patreon supporter. You can find out more about that in just a couple of seconds if you listen to the sponsor intro. So enjoy the interview, and thanks for listening. Messina Covers is not just any other case company. David Messina and Erica Howard design and produce some beautiful cases that fit both form and function. And you can choose your case design, fabric, and trim color, add custom engraving, and more. And of course, you can find out more at messinacovers.net. Peter Pickett and his crack team of craftspeople are continually innovating and providing the trumpet community with spectacular options for stock and custom mouthpieces. He and Eric Murine can help you find just the right size to fit your needs, and you should definitely consider trying the acrylic cup and rim. And if you're in the market for a custom trumpet, then Peter and Eric can build a Blackburn trumpet just for you. Check them out at pickettblackburn.com. To stay current on what's going on with Studio HFL, you can follow me on social media on Facebook and Instagram. And you can watch the live and pre-recorded interviews on the YouTube channel. And while you're there, go ahead and subscribe. My first experience with a Hammond design mouthpiece has turned into a bit of obsession. There is something very comfortable about playing one of Carl's mouthpieces. The comfort, response, and sound are part of the HD experience. Try one of the stock mouthpieces or have Carl make you a custom one. Either way, everything is better in HD, and you can find out more at carlhammonddesign.com. If you're enjoying this podcast, I hope you are, I would love it if you would take just a couple of minutes and go to Apple Podcasts to leave a star rating and a review. Doing so will help improve the visibility of this podcast and draw more listeners. When I first tried an Eastman B-flat trumpet, I was blown away by both the playability and the sound. And the more I found out about the company and got to know the people, I knew that this was a company I wanted to have a relationship with. There is a drive for excellence in design and production of every instrument, not just the high-end products. And the proof of this is that the one and only Doc Severinsen helped to design the Eastman beginner trumpet model. I still play that B-flat and have added a spectacular cornet and flugelhorn to my arsenal. You can find out more at eastmanwins.com. I'd love it if you'd visit the Studio HFL website and sign up for the weekly newsletter. And while you're there, you can also visit the merch page and buy a Studio HFL shirt for yourself and as a gift for someone else. Of course, you can do that at studiohfl.com. My current situation with my C trumpet is a bit ridiculous. My Shire C, which Samantha Lane helped me trial and choose, is the most versatile C I've ever played. The same goes for the new Destino designed by Doc. This horn sizzles when I need it to sizzle and is as smooth as silk when I wear my never mind. Anyway, the line of Shire's trumpets includes the Q series, which are production models, and the custom series. Either way you go, you'll love the sound you get, and you'll also experience exceptional customer service. Find out more at seshires.com. Here's how you can access exclusive content like the interview excerpts. I'd like to invite you to become a part of the Studio HFL community by going to Patreon and choosing from one of the 4 tiers of support. You can help to financially support the show for as little as $36 a year. That's only $3 a month. Benefits include exclusive access to interview excerpts, a behind-the-scenes report, an invitation to be in the room with a guest during an interview, product discounts, and more. You can join the community of faithful supporters by visiting patreon.com/studiohfl. And now, on with the interview. So here I am with Reese Land, professor of trumpet at the University of Louisville, and welcome, Reese, to the podcast.
It's great to be here.
And you and I have been colleagues and section buddies in different places over the last few years. I've enjoyed getting to know you both as a player and now as a teacher, and looking forward to what you can offer today. And what I'd like to start out with is tell me what you're currently doing, your position, both as a teacher and a player.
Okay, so as you mentioned, we're here at the University of Louisville. I'm the professor of trumpet here, so I have all the duties as related to classical trumpet here, as we have a jazz instructor as well, Anson Banks, who's just a wonderful colleague who we often cross from time to time. Sometimes his students come here, sometimes my students go there to get lessons and insights from him, and he also plays in some of the classical groups here when needed, which is great because he's a very flexible player. My job here is the studio trumpet, the trumpet ensemble. I also help with chamber music a little bit at occasion, and teach trumpet history, trumpet literature, and trumpet pedagogy. Those are the three main classes that I have.
And that's comprehensive because it's not just an undergraduate program. You have undergrad and graduate level.
That's right. So undergraduate and graduate level. So most of those literature classes I just spoke of, those are 500 level classes, which are sometimes for a senior, or of course an upper division, or graduate students only. So, but the studio is very diverse. It's mostly not a huge master's program here, but we have a lot of majors. The interest is growing. We do have assistantships for trumpet players here, which is great. That's a really handy thing to have in the studio for their sake and for our sake. The whole brass area utilizes those guys a lot. So we do a lot of things with them. The trumpet ensemble, of course, is very busy, very active. We meet twice a week, and we have performance opportunities outside the university, inside the university. Of course, competitions. We've done those in the past. We're going to try to do that again this year, since it's so close in Lexington, Kentucky, which would be great. But studio trumpet in this room is generally what I do. I'm in this room pretty much all day. Even my classes, my literature classes are here. So I also teach historical brass. It's a small program. We have sackbuts and trumpets combined, but we do have the instruments, and we're growing with that. There's a lot of interest in that, and I actually recommend that all undergraduate trumpet players take that at least once within their time here. So, and because every person that's ever taken it has enjoyed it. I haven't had one student that was like completely turned off to historical brass. We've got 4 really nice instruments that change all different keys, so they learn all the ideas. All of them are 3-hole instruments.
Oh, so you're not talking just Civil War things. You're talking about
natural trumpet, Baroque trumpet. Baroque trumpet. We do have cornetos, which I have still yet to master yet. But the natural Baroque trumpet I've been playing quite a bit, and it's fascinating.
Now, to be a natural trumpet,
you mean no holes at all?
Bob Barkley described it as the 2-hole method.
Oh, the 2-hole,
right?
Yeah.
The one that goes into the mouthpiece and the one that comes out the mouth.
That's right. And
then anything after that is a Baroque trumpet.
Baroque, that's good. That's fabulous. He's identified that for us clearly. But yes, we have most of the guys learn to play on I guess you call a Baroque instrument in that case, and we take them through real slow because they're just starting. So Ed Tarr books are fabulous for that. John Foster's book's really good for that too. So we take them through it very slow so they can learn the instrument. So basically another whole skill. It's another whole skill set. So, and that group also plays outside of here and in ensembles here on campus too. We have large brass ensemble concerts where we'll include that, because you're not going to play an hour concert on that normally. You're just going to play a couple tunes just because they're getting used to the instruments for the first time.
Go back to the trumpet ensemble. Is that a required ensemble for your studio?
It's not a required ensemble, but it's highly recommended.
Sure.
And usually I don't have any problem. The majority of folks take the class anyway, with the exception of someone who has a class conflict for something. There's one class that conflicts one of the 2 rehearsals, and I often just let them in the group anyway and utilize them as I can. So the ensemble is very active, and we go through a tremendous amount of literature. I usually do one large piece every year of varying difficulty, and then I break it down into smaller groups of getting folks together at a similar level so that they can learn from each other. And So it could be a 4 group, it could be a 5-person group, it could be 20-person group. Mm-hmm. So it depends on what we're doing. If we're playing at the KMEA convention downtown, we're going to have a big group play, obviously, for that. So it just depends. On NTC, of course, it'll be a smaller group, maybe a larger group too. So,
do you use any of these groups as recruiting or outreach?
Absolutely. We do go out to schools. Haven't done so much of that. We do that more with the quintets because it's just a school student availability problem.
Right.
They're just too busy, especially for a music ed major. Just don't have time.
Right.
And I have all their calendars. I utilize Google Calendar for my scheduling of my lessons, so I can see exactly what they're doing. They can see exactly what I'm doing, so they'll know what they're actually getting into if they're thinking about doing this job. Because I don't think a lot of people realize how much work this really is. It's
Nobody
true.
Understands the job until they're in it.
That's true.
And they realize that you have to fight to find your own practice time, because the administrivia, which is a word I learned recently,
nice,
is sometimes overwhelming.
That's true.
And so now let's speak to this job.
Sure.
You filled some major shoes when you stepped into this position.
Yes, I did. So tragically, both of my predecessors, there are only 2, Leon Raker, who was a legend in this region and was one of the ones that people studied with other than Herseth in this area. He died tragically very rapidly. I think it was a brain aneurysm or something like this. Died very quickly. Dr. Mike Tunnell, came in, who was one of his students, came in not even a year later, I believe. I'm still learning this. I'm not a Rapier student, so I didn't move to Louisville until 1999. So he had been here Mike had been here for many years, and I had never met Leon Rapier. Mike, though, filled the shoes and was here for many, many years, 2 decades at least, and then, of course, he died tragically of cancer. I was a student of his. I was his TA. I knew a lot of folks here, and yes, I was extremely fortunate to get this job. I think the main reasons for that were just because of my focus on students, the teaching. Playing, of course, is always a part of it, but it's not as a big of a thing as you think. It's the teaching aspect here was very important. And then, of course, being able to play chamber music, which I have an enormous amount of experience with that. I was in a group that was in Eastern Kentucky. I was a part of the NEA as a rural residency program, and we had a 5-county region, and we played 4 concerts a day for years.
No kidding.
Years.
And anybody of note?
No one we know anymore. All the guys are dispersed. Lorenzo Trujillo would be the only one. He's in the Persian's own. He was in the final stages of the group. But everybody else has gone on to other things. I'm the only one that's really kind of still doing it. Mm-hmm. But that experience was amazing. Playing concerts. Now, we didn't play the same concert. Obviously, we were changing music continuously. Always upgrading our Ed show, which was a show basically about history in preparation for their liberal arts testing on the state Kentucky test, which used to require that. They don't anymore. So when that stopped, that program pretty much folded, and the funding from the NEA program folded too. So we moved to Louisville. I got to know Mike real well. I became his TA. I wanted to come back and get my master's. That was after I got my bachelor's. That was about a 6-year window before I got my master's, between my bachelor's and my master's. So I came here, got to know Mike real well, played a lot of great things with him, Louisville Bach Society, Louisville Orchestra some. It was great. And then I got, after leaving to go get a doctorate at Illinois Champaign, I immediately got the job at Southern Mississippi, which ironically was his alma mater for his DMA. I got the job there for a year. I didn't have my DMA finished. Took a year off, got it completed, got a job in Campbellsville University in the middle of the state, and I was there for 8 years, tenured faculty. And now and then after Mike died, I was, like I say, fortunate to win this. Been here, this is my 5th year. I think so.
Is it really 5?
I know.
Wow.
So it's in it. So time is flying.
So
Yes.
let's talk about your time with Mike Tunnell.
This is my 4th year. I said that wrong.
4th year.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Tell us a little bit about his teaching style, what you focused on, your stage of playing when you entered his studio, and how he adapted his teaching to you. And then we're going to follow that into how you adapt that teaching now for these students that you have.
That's a great question. When I stepped foot on campus, I had not played a solo recital, in 7 or 8 years because I had been in the quintet. So I had an enormous amount of performance experience. And I had played solos with a quintet, but it's not quite the same, as you know. So I told him that. I said, I'd like to do more solo recitals because I just need the experience. I'm missing a lot of literature. I'd played a lot of things, but nothing like that. So we sat down the first lesson, and he created 4 recitals. The first lesson. We will do this, 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 and this. And your last one will be the graduate recital. This will be the pieces that are on that. And that was pretty much the emphasis that I had here.
1 per semester, right?
1 per semester. So I did a recital every semester, and I did one with my doctorate as well. I did the exact same thing. I did a recital every semester I was in school. With the exception of my bachelor's, I did 2 there. But for my master's, that'd be 4. And for my doctorate, I did 6. Because I just knew that if I was going to make it at all with that, you have to do that if you apply for a job. I actually wasn't looking to become a collegiate teacher at that time. It was in the time that I was in my master's degree. I was a student assistant, so I taught a lot of lessons. I'd always taught lessons. That was never the issue. But I learned a lot about the administrative parts of it, what you have to do when you audition for a teaching job, and I knew the solo part of it was going to have to be addressed. So that was remarkable for me. I did a lot of literature. Oh my gosh, I never repeated anything. I constantly looking for the hardest things imaginable. Some recitals were a little too hard. I learned a lot of lessons from that. It was the one I did Molter 2, Tomasi, the Bain Concerto, and what was the last thing? I don't remember. But
that was just the first half, right?
Yeah, well, and now, ironically, you mentioned that because Mike came back after intermission, after Tomasi. How's it going? And I was like, is everything? It was fine. It's just that it was heavy program. So I learned my lessons from that, and I played some really difficult 20th century lit. I did the Krill on my graduate recital, for example, Erickson's piece, which took a year and a half easily to learn that. So there were a lot of really cool things. I had a very wide variety of music on every program: piccolo, contemporary, unaccompanied, you name it.
So coming into his studio, your chops are in pretty good shape.
Pretty strong,
right?
yeah.
You're not looking to focus on, hey, Professor Tunnell, I've got issues with this, or this. I mean, you're at the point to where you can just focus solely on literature.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't have too many major problems. I had, in between my bachelor's and master's degrees, I had several lessons with Arnold Jacobs, and that was life-changing. So fundamentally, I was pretty strong. Of course, I had things I needed to work on. We all do. It wasn't always natural, but as far as what I was doing, I was playing so much that I had to have a certain level of fundamentals to do that. But there were things that needed to be honed and cleaned, and that took some time. And coming here, those first couple of recitals were a lot of, I don't say muddy ground. It just wasn't solid. I didn't feel like I did when I walked in and did a quintet concert. And it took a little while to kind of get used to that being out there. You're it kind of thing. And then after a while, of course, if it's something you're not good at, you just keep doing it. And eventually it did get better. Ensemble playing was never an issue. I always, I don't know why the strength in numbers thing, I guess, is just kind of thing.
Absolutely. There's always safety in numbers. So, I'm thinking about these heavily programmed recitals.
Mm-hmm.
You're learning things like pacing.
Of course.
Programming.
Yep.
What else?
Style. Now, I played a lot of styles in quintet, but to play Tomasi is just a different animal. If you're playing the Bozza Sonatine, that's got some similarities. But Tomasi, for example, or what are the other big Jolivet pieces? If you're working on those at Francais, for example, all those have a definite thing about them. So that's something I had not been exposed to much. I had played Debussy a little bit in the orchestra, a little closer, but not really. I mean, compared to that, which is, first of all, they're difficult. Hearing-wise, logistics sometimes, mute things, just all kinds of issues that come up. So I had to learn about that. One of the first ones, Hindemith. I played a little bit of Hindemith for Mike in one of my first lessons, and I was using way too much vibrato. I mean, for example, he's like, whoa, what is this? What are you doing? What do you mean, what am I doing? I'm just playing the Hindemith. I didn't really have a reference because I had not heard the Hindemith that much. I was, again, it's music I wasn't that familiar with. Then I heard Tommy Stevens recording. I was, okay, I understand now. So it took me, a semester or two just to turn Dr. Tom called the vibrator off. Turn it off, man. What are you doing? So, because you don't use that in this music. So I played the Hindemith on my final recital here, and that was an accomplishment because it wasn't the fact that I couldn't play the piece. It was I could read the piece pretty much from the beginning, but to play it where I felt and where he felt it was right, stylistically closer to what Stevens and others. Stevens was one of our favorites, but yeah.
So there are a lot of pieces that are open to interpretation.
Oh yeah.
But there's extreme value in knowing what the expectations are really for pieces like the Hindemith, or to play the French repertoire the way the French composers intended it to be played, and the sounds in their head as they're writing this.
Sometimes that's not addressed in today's world. It's just, and I think we owe it to the composer to try. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to play it exactly like Maurice Andre. Some things on his I don't like. But it's kind of like Mexican food. We Americanize it a little bit. So we have to, there's certain things in an orchestral way. Sometimes I'll think that way in a piece. It just depends. It depends on the moment. But yes, we're trying to get something similar to what the composer intended, I think.
Now, have you taken a piece where you're like, boy, I really want to play it in this style? I mean, if you're convincing, if you've got conviction with that, and you are convincing in that delivery, do you see any issue with?
I have no problem with that. Some of the ones that often get me are just like the older tunes, like the Haydn and the Hummel. This is a way to play it, and then you listen to somebody play it on, for example, an instrument that it was written for. And then that's different. It's kind of like the Baroque trumpet, too.
Exactly, right?
So if you ever play the Telemann D major on the Baroque trumpet, for example, Telemann Concerto D, you will change the way you play that when you try that on a Baroque instrument.
Because the color is
so different. And the articulation, because the piccolo, of course, is just going to go. I mean, it's ready to go. It's made to be easier. It is easier. I love the piccolo trumpet. And that's why it was so hard for me to grasp this Baroque thing. But then, when I started to really kind of study it and understand it and hear the sounds that all these great artists are making now, I'm like, wow, there's definitely something. So when I play piccolo now, a special piece like that, I hear that sound. And it's not always easy to make it, but at least I have something in mind. I am a person who definitely works in products. That's something I learned from Mr. Jacobs. Okay, I don't think about the how too much. I think about what it is I'm trying to achieve. This is if you have to have one driving force for my teaching, that is it right there. The human body works in products. If I want to pick this mute up off my stand, I'm not thinking about the muscles that I'm doing to do that. I'm not saying we don't address the muscles, but that is a very minimal, it's a minimal thing, and there are certain things for younger students that have to be right. But as far as what drives my teaching, it's that right there. It's product. So if I'm thinking about Hindemith or Tomasi or whatever I have to do, I listen to the piece.
I think Jankowitz had the same focus, was know the sound you're after and the body will find a way to create that. Yeah. Rather than thinking about this muscle's going to be this, and that's going to generate this end result. And there are people who end up paralysis by analysis.
Correct.
So I love that idea. And if I'm thinking now, Chikowitz, of course, and Jacobs were colleagues.
Oh, yeah.
But
very
Chikowitz studied with Jacobs.
Of course. I think everybody did, even in a non-direct way.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I've tried it where I've done the whole physical thing because I had a lot of problems, especially in the early part of my undergraduate.
I'm so glad to hear that. And that's
a lot of problems.
You're okay talking about that?
I'm totally open to talking about that because that was what. But I have an enormous amount of determination, which you have to. I'm a farm. I was raised as a farmer and electrician, so the work ethic was never the issue. That was not a problem. I was raised in a way that was fabulous for that. And of course, trumpet, when you're sitting in an air-conditioned room most of the time. So, I mean, really, how hard is it? Really?
Sure.
Even when you're doing the hardest thing imaginable, it's physically not. I mean, yeah, some people say that's physically very difficult. Right. You ever tried digging potatoes? So, in my point...
With potato fork, right? Not
I'm not talking about a machine. I'm talking about a shovel, man. Yeah. So, but anyway, so that part of it, the part and I was a very physical player in the beginning, and Mr. Jacobs, of course, cleared up a lot of these things. My early high school teacher, was a student of his. His name's Tim Phillips. He lives in North Carolina, and he got me on the right track. My chops were just a disaster. I mean, I played way off the side of my face. I mean, constantly swollen, busted. I'd have range, but only at the 5F range. That was what I had, and I loved it. It was definitely a part of my soul. I had no interest in any other instruments, maybe the keyboards at one point, but trumpet was always my thing. It was just there from the moment I picked it up. So, but the problems existed, and then Mr. Jacobs, like I say, he showed me basically what the embouchure's for, how it works, what we should think about. Definitely a lot about how to use our air. But that's a funny thing is that while all that was important, there was still that whole concept of product. And I remember, I've got to tell this, my first lesson, I was 20 years old, 19. I walked into his studio. The guy before me was from, I think, somewhere in Europe, and the guy after me was the same. It was somebody from the Netherlands or Germany or someone. So I'm this kid, I'm walking in this place. It's 12-foot ceilings. Everybody in the whole hallway can hear everything you're doing. I'm scared to death. I mean, I've never been to a major city in my life. I've never been to a major city in my life. I grew up in rural North Carolina. I'm aghast at just what I'm seeing. So I start playing. He could tell right away. He stops me, slaps me on the leg, just like that, and he goes, "Listen, the guy before you is from here. The guy after you is from here. No one knows who's in this room right now. So what I want you to do is make them think that it's one of these really good players." That's what he said to me. Changed my life forever. And after that, I just kind of it was a realization. He's right. But you see, you're young and inexperienced. You don't know. And you're talking to the brass god of our time. He's sitting here, and he's talking to me like he's my grandfather. And in a lot of ways, he still is. You know, his voice, I still hear it. But that changed my life. He hooked me all the machines. He showed me some things about vibration that were very important. This are the things you should focus on, but only this much. And then he said, I don't know how many times in the lesson he said, play it like Herseth would play it. He said that several times. Play it like Mr. Herseth would play it. And of course, I was going to see Herseth that night. First time I'd ever done that before. I'd heard recordings, but I had never. I mean, the experience of Chicago Symphony live. So that was a very large, very wide learning curve. Okay, in those months. Ironically, on the way to see Mr. Jacobs, I had a lesson with Vince DiMartino, the first time I'd met him. So I'm bombarded with stuff in that month. It took literally years to process the information that they gave us. And I had it written down, and I took it home, and that's how it got me there. By the time I was a junior, senior, I was really starting to really make some good progress, really. And then after that, I went to work. I didn't get a job immediately. I worked for my dad as an electrician and played gigs with the quintet. And I really started working with the Arbin. Have you ever heard of the Prescott outline for the Arbin? It's a 12-year outline for the Arbin. And my teacher had given me that in high school, and I just started checking them off. I would do 30 minutes before I went to work, and I'd do it in the evening and then have rehearsal or some kind. I played with the orchestra, played with the quintet. I didn't do any solos. I was just trying to get my playing up. And then I started to get called. Charleston Symphony, played with them a little bit. Played in Western Piedmont, Asheville a little bit, in their chamber groups and such. So it was a really good time, and then I won the job with the quintet right after that. So I'm sorry I'm running around a little bit.
No, this is all great. It's great.
But I just wanted, the Jacobs thing was a huge thing. Now,
was he the one that affected your embouchure, not your embouchure change, but your mouthpiece?
Yeah, everything, just the whole, how you play the trumpet. That he was the one who did it. Now, everybody after that, I don't know if anybody's really ever addressed that since, to be honest.
Well, maybe he fixed it right then and there.
Well, I think so, because it was just how it was blowing, how it was moving the air, and everything just kind of went in alignment. Does that make sense? And then, of course, there were things about centering I learned from a lot of people. Mike Sachs came here when I was in school, and I had a great lesson with him. Bob Sullivan was fantastic. Of course, Mike Ewald, my teacher at Illinois, and Ronnie Rahm, and then Mike and all these guys, they all had something different to give me. I've not gotten everything from one person, but as far as a major guide, the stuff that Jacobs told me was the guide. The reason that I like his stuff, and all those guys studied with him, the reason I liked him the most is because the way he talked to me in those lessons, I had like 4 lessons with him, was how I want to teach my students. Because I like, and my teachers do that too, but Jacobs was definitely one of the best teachers ever, just from the point of view that he's so simple. It's so unbelievably simple. And I like that because I'm simple, okay? And I like to keep it that way because I know everything, we've all played, Larry, you've played everything there is on the trumpet, on stage. And we can't be thinking about how we're doing it when we're out there, or something's gonna go wrong, or it has the potential to go wrong.
Sure.
So we have to keep our mind really clear about what we want to do. Now, that is a very loaded statement that I just said right there, because people, that's the part that I think a lot of times is where the disconnect happens. You know, if you're going to sing or play pitch and exhibition, you need to be able to hear that. Now, I'm not saying the notes. You got to be able to hear everything. You need to hear the articulation. You got to hear what's going on when the orchestra finally does come in. You need to hear, obviously, intonation. Are you in tune with yourself? Because it's all you, buddy. You need to look and kind of expect what the conductor's going to do. That's a visual thing, but it's also, you can see that before you even start playing it. You need to know, of course, the sound color that you want. There's just so many things. There's so many facets of that The pitch is really, that's just one thing. So if I have my guys in here, if they sing, if they want to play pictures, I have them sing it, because that's one we should all hear. And it's remarkable. The notes they miss are the ones they miss singing it. The way they sing it stylistically, that's the way they play it on the trumpet. It is remarkable, the connections that are there.
The articulations you sing.
It's there.
Exactly.
It's there. It's remarkable. I know that now because of all the students that have been in here, and I don't change the physicality of how they're playing. No. Did you just hear what you just did? Do you hear how you just sing this? Because I record a lot in here. Not as much video, but I've been doing a little bit of that because I want them to, if it's something they need to see.
Sure.
That's a big one. Now, Vince is another huge influence on me. I've always admired his playing. From what I'm saying is his ability to do so many things. His toolbox is ridiculous. I mean, we know this. Never mind the jazz. I'm just talking about to be able to do what he does is remarkable. And I've learned a lot about things from him. Little tricks, anecdotes, concepts that really make playing the trumpet easier. That I want to say on record, because all these guys have all given me things. I mean, Dr. Tunnell was definitely the singing. He was real big about singing into the trumpet. That was a big one. Mike Ewald was a nuts and bolts guy. I mean, no fundamentals on this earth were better than this guy. I'm telling you, you sit beside him and you listen to him in the orchestra, it was true. Anybody that was there can tell you it's just truly astounding. The guy just looked like he was doing nothing all the time. Ronnie Rum, it's all about music to this guy.
And that's interesting, too, because he was a Jimmy Stamp student. And, you know, when you think about that, a lot of people think, well, that's all about buzzing and the Stamp method. But the end result is still
his musicality is,
and if that wasn't apparent and still isn't apparent in the fact that he's one of the most lyrical players.
He plays so musically, and in a group, his ear with the group is remarkable. And that, of course, I was fortunate to have that background. When I went to try out there, they had me play the Ewald. I'd never met him.
But you knew who he was.
I knew who he was. Oh, yeah. I'd seen him a couple times, and I was just in shock what I'd seen. And then he said, do you mind if I play second to you on the Ewald? What do you can't see my face, but it was truly awesome. He was on me, you know, just incredible. Of course, stage things. He taught me a lot about the stage. He helped me so much in that aspect of my solo. That was an area of my solo playing I needed help with, because, you know, I just walk out and play the piece. That is not in his head at all. His head is all about everything. You are the show, even when you're not playing. Everything was about that.
I remember him. He was doing a master class for me at the University of Indianapolis, and he talked about everything on stage is planned and rehearsed.
That's right.
And he made a point of saying, even how I stand when it's a piano solo, or even how I stand when it was Chuck Dallenbach was taking the stage with the Canadian Brass. Everything I do. And so being hyper aware of all of that is what makes him look so comfortable. And a lot of people were asking him questions. Well, you know, doesn't that, you know, make you stiff? Doesn't, you know, all this thing to where if you rehearse it well enough,
that's right,
it's going to look natural.
It's very natural to him. He talked about how he got to that. It was with Canadian. They would actually have a choreographer come in. I mean, we learned so many really neat things from him. Ronnie Rum, of course, was a great influence. Learned a lot from him on the stage. And then when I moved back to Kentucky, I got to know Vince even more. We started collaborating on several different projects together. Of course, Campbellsville was real close to Danville. So when I was working on something different, I did, for example, when I was at Campbellsville, I did the whole 2 suite. And I knew, I mean, Dr. Tunnell Mike Ewald and Ronnie are all great players, but they're not going to be playing that piece. They're just not going to do that. That's just not them. That's not who they...
Well, not in its entirety, right?
No, I did the whole album. That was my recital. And I knew one person close that would. So, of course, I went over there to see him, and he showed me a few things that made that tremendously easier to play. It wasn't anything complicated. It was just a simple, try this. Oh. So I learned a lot of little things from him over the years that for that kind of playing, because I was doing a lot of commercial playing as well. I play in big bands, play lead in there, play third, whatever. I don't do a lot of jazz, but the thing is that I knew that style and I knew the demands that sometimes it has. In the orchestra in Bowling Green, of course, you know, I'm down there. I'm second trumpet, but I play lead occasionally when the lead player, Dan Castine, doesn't want to play the stuff. So I have a lot of experience playing in rock bands and big bands and stuff, and I would bring that into there. No problem. But those programs can be pretty demanding, as you know.
Yep.
And that's one topic we should talk about a little bit, the things that new players really ought to have. And Vince, you see, that's his backyard. That's what he does. And not only that, he can do it at a moment's notice. I mean, you'll talk to the guy, he can play the Brandenburg for you, or he can play, you know, something West Side Story or something, whatever. Right. It's not a problem. He just switches. See, that's the kind of trumpet player I want to be. That's the kind of trumpet I am. So I trained that way to be able to play a recital, to be able to play chamber group, to be whatever. It's just a trumpet. That was one thing Mike Ewald said a lot too, was that the trumpet's a trumpet, and how we practice the trumpet, our fundamentals, it's all the same. It's all the same. There are 4 or 5 things that you just have to do. I have to do every day. I do it very early in the morning. It's a part of my day. I do what Bud says. I usually try to do at least 3 45-minute sessions every day. 45, I'll do a stopwatch too. Because 45 minutes, it doesn't matter what I'm doing, I'm stopping. Because I know that that's all I need. Plus, I want to stay fresh for the program. Now, obviously, programs are going to be longer than 45 minutes. That's not the point. I can play longer than 45 minutes, but a practice session, because I'm such a, and you probably understand this, I just love the trumpet so much that I just want to keep going, especially when it's going really well.
And
you know?
End up reading the entire etude.
Yeah, and then you're like, oh, and then the next days or the next 2 hours is pretty rough. So I've learned a lot of lessons that way. I definitely time my time. 45 minutes is a good amount of time, especially with a full-time job and 2 kids. And so, and spending time with my wife and stuff. But I find that that's all I need to get I can do everything I need to do in that 45 minutes. Everything that we know. Now, methods that I use lots of things. It's never really been a specific method. I have done, obviously, Arbin and the 12-year system. I'm on the second run of that. I usually do that. I can do 20 minutes of the outline of what's required for that time pretty quickly. I'm very open-minded about what I use. I use a lot of different books for flexibility, for example. I really like Scott Belk's book right now.
Yeah, and there's a new one coming out.
I just saw that, and I saw him at the conference, and he told me about it. And I said, well, I'll be looking for that. There's a lot of great, because, you know, we have to be, you can't just get into I don't know what you call it, the millstone of one exercise.
Too many people even think that a routine is a rut.
Yeah, that shouldn't be.
You can have a routine where you address all the elements you need to address, but with a different repertoire.
That's right.
And I think that's what you're getting to right now. It's like it could be Belk one day, Colin the next day, Flexus.
Walter Smith, there's 100 of them. I mean, really, it's not an issue. Baylin, that's a hard book. If you can play the first section of that book without missing anything, you've done something and sound great. And all of them, for that matter. But I have a series of books that I use for articulation. I have a series of books that I use for transposition, which could be any book, really. But all of those, there's a certain way that the trumpet has to work. And this is where I do with Vinny. There's one thing he says all the time: the trumpet is a tool. He says that all the time. He's right. The trumpet is a tool for our expression. The musical instrument is our brain. The instrument is a tool. Now, with that in mind, what he's saying with that, in my opinion, is that there's certain things that have to happen to make that thing work. Okay? It's probably things that you and I don't think about too much now, but for a younger student, we have to address that a little bit. The product, of course, is still in that mind. What you want to do, how you want to do it, is not necessarily the most important thing. It's what do you want? What do you want? So with all these books I have, that's the driving force. Will your single tonguing get faster? Hopefully. Your double tonguing get smoother or however you wish it to be. Yes. Will your range increase? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things. My range development probably just happened because I had to do it. It wasn't because I practiced it. Were there things that helped with that? Yeah, sure. The 5th study of the Clark book, that's a great one. That's a good one to get focus, in range. Playing real soft in the high register. I'm not doing it with so much force, which is something a lot of people do. And I think there's an equilibrium that just has to be there, though. And that's something that Vince talks about a lot. I really admire that, and I use it. When I see it's, well, that's not quite right. We need to make an adjustment here, and here's what you need to do. Keep it simple. Make the statements real, not long, just a couple words. Do this. That's Mr. Jacobs would say. Vince won't give you that, though. He'll give you the long answer. But
here's what I like about
Still
Vince.
Simple.
Vince can not only play everything in front of him, but he knows how to explain musically.
That's right.
The approach, and then he also knows how to explain in really clear terminology the physiology.
That's right.
Behind everything, and I think, and then he's just such a nice guy.
He's super. Yeah,
so he's like the complete package.
He really is
for all of this.
He's great.
And I think just the enthusiasm for music, period, is unreal. And okay, so. What I'm hearing is you had a very different experience as a learner than you did as a teacher. But you're taking because when you showed up for your master's and doctorate, you had things in pretty good working order. You're now having students come in who are not at that level.
That's right.
But you're using Arnold Jacobs and who were you with in Illinois?
Mike Ewald,
and Rom,
and Mike Tunnell.
And Tunnell.
Yeah.
All of those, you see all of them being channeled into your teaching methods.
I am not narrow-minded when it comes that way. I like atom techniques. In the last 5 or 6 years, there's things about the atom that I love. And then a lot of similarities to Mr. Jacobs. I've talked to Dr. Banks about this here in the studio. He was a big atom student. And I've totally included some of the things he showed me. I love it. I'll see him do when he warms up. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm intuitive. As far as that goes, I think it's very important, again, to remain open-minded about that. And you'll know what doesn't work. I think we all know that. No, that doesn't quite get it. There may be one aspect of something that doesn't work that you may keep. For example, I'll give you one. Endurance is often in the minds of trumpet players. I do something with endurance. I don't do Caruso. I did that for years. I've done the breathing gym. I did the breathing gym every day for 2 years. Just to give it, I want to be sure that there are things about that I still use. Caruso, back to that. One of the things that I liked about Caruso was stabilizing things. Because people can't hold long tones for the amount of time they often need to. Or they just lose strength by the end of the evening. I'll do a whole exercise where I'll leave the horn on my face. I won't take it off. And I don't breathe through my nose. I'll even talk to you.
Right.
But I'll leave it on my face. Because most trumpet players will do anything they can to get this trumpet off their face. Which, understandably, in times you need to.
Absolutely.
But I'll leave it on my face and I'll do like a whole not a whole routine, but like a set of exercises. For example, if I do my long tones, I'll rest in between a long tone for sure. If I'm doing a long tone and 4 beats, if I'm working with a drone, whatever. I always have a metronome running, but I'll leave it on my face. I'll talk to you. Somebody calls me on the phone, I may even talk to them like this with it on my face. You see, but or if somebody knocks on the door, but I'm not. It's going to stay on my face until I'm done with that exercise. I found a tremendous benefit with that right there. I think it's something about how we relax when we take the horn off our face, and you can relax it with it on your face too. That's what's kind of. Anyway, that's just one little thing that I found some pretty cool benefits from my students. Because playing out 1A2, for example, you play Arbin 1, characteristic study.
It doesn't come off your face at
no,
any point in there.
And not many people can do it. I can play 4 or 5. I'd probably play all 12 if I pushed myself, but I'm not thinking about endurance, you see, because I've done that in my fundamental warm-up.
Sure.
So it's there.
And I usually think of endurance as endurance through efficiency.
Absolutely.
So
it's not about weightlifting. That's
when
for sure.
When a student comes to me saying I want to work on range and endurance, which those are two
always comes
right? and they don't expect that the answer for range, first of all, is going to include, how's your pedal register?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But, I try to explain endurance as, look, it's not about playing everything you can for 6 hours a day.
That's right.
It's learning how to play everything as efficiently as possible. And endurance, I mean, if you're an efficient player and you simply move the air through the horn the right way, you're going to get mentally tired and need to take a break long before you're physically going to be worn out.
I agree with that.
And, that's something I think I learned by just experiencing it.
Trial and error.
I got to find a better way.
Oh, yeah.
I got to find a better way to make it through whatever gig or whatever piece. And, it's now, everything I think about is how efficient can I be in this?
That's right.
Now, I want to ask you, to me, I look at somebody like Sergey
wow.
as one of the most efficient
players.
Goodness.
Absolutely.
And I love watching him play because, first of all, everything he plays, I hear it and I'm moved by it and I'm impressed, inspired.
Yeah.
Because of him, I learned to circular breathe.
Wow.
Now I'm not as good at it yet as he is, but
that's great.
But I watch him play, and also watching him taught me. So maybe that's how. Now I don't point my horn down
the angle, sure.
But his posture is so relaxed, and I'm thinking, well, that's how. Another reason he can move the air the way he moves his air.
That's right.
And I think there's that visual aspect that we can use to learn as well. So that's my 2 cents worth on that. But I'm curious now. That makes me think. We've talked about teachers that have inspired you and moved you forward. What about players? Who do you listen to and
all right
and push towards other?
I was given my teacher gave me a cassette tape of Doc Severinsen. Yes, a cassette tape.
Reese, what is a cassette tape?
Give me a cassette tape of Severinsen playing Rhapsody for the album, Rhapsody, and I wore that tape out. I have that record signed by him. It is one of my prized possessions because that was what I started with. I actually broke that tape. I listened to it so much. Severinsen, Maurice Andre, Doc Severinsen, and Bud Herseth were my 4 idols. And I didn't have a lot of money, but I traveled every place. I would drive to Charlotte, which was a 2-hour drive, to go get a cassette tape of these guys. I didn't buy records much. And CDs, I didn't get. As a matter of fact, the first CD I ever owned was Doc Severinsen's album, Cincinnati Pops. That was the first one. He signed it for me just recently. And but I heard all the other stuff well before that. Of course, it was just truly remarkable. Maynard albums. I did see Maynard live several times. That was truly life changing. I was into range a lot just liked what I heard. I mean, and those guys could do it so easy. And then Herseth, of course, seeing him, that, you know, we didn't have videotapes of him even really back then. I'd heard a tremendous amount of recordings, and you can just tell what he looked like when you heard him playing. I mean, it's just so easy. It just sounds so good, you know. So that, and then of course Phil Smith came along later. That was another big one for me. Very inspirational player. But Maurice Andre, as far as piccolo playing, regardless if it's stylistically correct or not, was just it for me. And I played a lot of piccolo, did a tremendous amount of weddings. That would be the one time I guess I did do a lot of solos. But it was all the same literature basically, and man, it just changed my life. I mean, and then of course I heard he's hiding in Hummel, and that was truly remarkable. Contemporary stuff I didn't even know he did until I got into school, and I was like, wow, that's really pretty amazing. I found a Tomasi record in France that I bought for Mike Tunnell, and I gave it to the studio. I still have it over there, of him doing Tomasi, and it's great. I mean, it's hard. You can find it on YouTube now, of course, but I spent all my extra money on buying recordings. I have probably 3,000 CDs. I don't know how many records. So I just.
How many things have we had to buy that are now accessible on the internet, free of charge, and our students still can't find the time
I know.
to go and listen? Because all of these vintage recordings, Rafael Mendez videos of him talking and playing, or Al Hurt, old recordings of Clark Terry, and now of course you've got Tina Helseth and Allison Balsam.
I mean,
and who's the cornet guy? I'm just
Ole
Edvard,
just
who's just
incredible.
phenomenal. And all these great players really at our fingertips
all the time. I mean, we pull it up, and it just wasn't. That was something. In some ways, I think it's almost better the way we had it before, because when I had one recording, I wore it out. I mean, I listened intently, you know, and I picked up specific things that I really I could hear, and then I'd record myself and compare the two, and you know, obviously there's ways to go, but it was just always, I could hear myself going in that direction, which is something that's why I like to record with my students too, because they need to hear where they're starting at and where they, you know, are they getting closer to where they need to be. Recordings history. I mean, those four guys were definitely the ones that led me where I want to be. There's no doubt about that. They were my teachers in a lot of ways, I guess you could say.
Sure.
And then, of course, sitting beside someone like a Mike Ewald, for example, you sit beside someone like that in the orchestra and you understand a Herseth. Because you're talking about mannerisms. I learned, I mean, he just picked that trumpet up, and he's so still. And yet it was just like anything. I mean, you come out that he wanted at his command all the time. The softest thing. One of the ones I really remember him, we did Carmina Burana together once. And there's that one lick. He played the high lick on piccolo. He played you know, whatever it was after that. And then you kind of come in on that A, really, really quiet with the trombone in unison or in octaves, whatever, and really quiet. He put that piccolo down and he picked up that C trumpet. He played that note, and it was just like, I mean, it was flawless. It wasn't just flawless; it was pristine. You know, it was one note.
It was enough that you noticed it.
Oh yeah. Well, it was more than that, because I know what he was doing previous, and it wasn't even the horn switch. That kind of thing doesn't bother me. I did in quintet so long. It was just his mind. You could tell was leading that charge. He knew exactly what he had to do, and he did it. It just boom, it was there. Just truly remarkable.
You know, as you're describing that, the biathlete started going through my head. You know, they cross country ski, they have to stop, and then completely change their focus.
Yeah.
Physically bring their body under control, and hit the bullseye.
Boom.
And then they're up and getting their heart rate back up. And that, I think, might be a good analogy to that sort of thing, the ability to go from one extreme to the other.
So remarkable. I learned a lot from him that way.
So, your enthusiasm, if that hasn't come through, your enthusiasm for not just trumpet but music, if that hasn't come through today, I think we've missed something. Tell me something, and obviously you do enjoy music. Tell me something that you're trying to better yourself at now. I mean, is there a specific technique, extended technique? Is there a specific genre that you're looking to do? I mean,
good question.
You're still growing. We all are as players.
Yeah. I'm, and that was the other thing I was going to mention, actually. I'm glad you brought that up. I'll answer your question as well, but about remaining open-minded. I've read several books about learning, a lot of really good books. One of the ones 5 or 6 years ago was Mindset. Mindset is a great book. It's about closed mind, open mind. What you call a growth mindset. That's an open mind. That's the reason I'm still here. That's the reason Vinny's still playing at his young age. And Severinsen, this guy, he's 90 years old. He came in here and played this great concert. I mean, I think that's the key, is that don't ever think you're there and be willing to grow. I have swallowed my pride in this I'm working on a real difficult program here coming up in September, and I'm working on the Zwilich Concerto for trumpet, 5 players. It's not easy, but it's not the chop problem. It's a hearing thing.
Right.
And I'm going to say it out loud. I've swallowed my pride, and I have been singing that piece. I have been singing it. I have been working on that because I'm just not just to be accurate, but just try to be more inside you. Does that make sense? Just to really know it, really know what's going on, because it's not just a piano and trumpet piece. It's with some really great players I've got here in the faculty that they're going to play along with us. But it's just I've been really wanting to do that more, and I've found some remarkable results from just singing the piece out loud. Truly, I mean, because I'll hear practice listening to it. Yeah, I listened to it for 6 months, and then I started singing it. Boy, howdy, that was a complete change of what was required. I found myself, when I played the trumpet, then it's like I'm singing the trumpet. Does that make sense?
It sure does. Because you're using the trumpet as a tool.
I'm using the trumpet as a tool.
Like you said earlier, your mind, your brain is.
Yeah.
How did you phrase that specifically?
Oh, I mean, your brain is running the show. It's driving the instrument. So it knows exactly what to do by what I'm telling it to do. Now, I'm not saying I don't play by feel a little bit. Everybody's going to do that. You're trying to play. I mean, you're putting these knives up to our face every day and grinding our teeth. Come on, let's be real. The things that I did with Vince helped me with that part of it. But the drive, and Vince will tell you about hearing too, and I'm still yet to ask him about that a little more, because I've got more questions. So he gave me a lot of answers recently, and I've got some more. But I'm finding that if I just do simple exercises of sight singing, I do 30 minutes at least of sight singing, of just something unrelated every day, I'm finding that it's helping my trumpet playing missing, because I'm noticing when I'm hearing a little bit more. It's not that I didn't hear it. It's just that I didn't super clarify it. I'm talking down to the razor sharp edge. But that's been truly remarkable. I did a little bit of reading about this, and you know that Herseth, Vacchiano, and Voisin, they all studied, and those are really remarkable trumpet players. I mean, Jacobs told me that Herseth would miss a note every 3 years. It wasn't just that; it was just that he would play so musically connected to the piece all the time. All those guys were involved at one point or another with a guy named Georges Magier. You probably heard of this guy.
Yeah.
Georges Magier was in the Paris Conservatory. Now, you know the renowned classes that they have for sight singing and solfege in those classes. Brass players weren't allowed in those classes. Jerry was a violist. He studied with those guys, and he was in those classes. Now, I'm sorry. There's something to this.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason why his students have the top 3 major jobs, or one of the major jobs in the United States. There's a reason for that.
Sure.
Vacchiano, I mean, come on. Voisin, I mean, all these guys, their ear is truly remarkable. I've noticed this when I go to Ecuador with my wife. The kids there, they study solfege. They may learn 3 notes, only 3 notes, do, re, mi, but on fixed do, of course, for a whole year. But they know those notes. Now, that's something that we just don't push here. Sight singing is a part of training, part of theory. It's a part of a class.
On my way down here this morning, I was listening to a podcast, Brass Junkies, and they were interviewing Rachel Rodriguez.
Oh, my.
And there's a statement that she made that I thought, first of all, I fully agreed with it, but I thought more people need to hear this. And she says, we've got to change the state of music education. And I think that thing now that you're also mentioning speaks to that. I think if we address those kinds of things early on, and we do a better job of ear training early on, it's going to make it so much more rewarding for the student along the way.
If you're an undergraduate, you take ear training with your theory class.
You mean sight screaming? Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
You take that class for 2 years, and then you're done. You don't take it anymore.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense to me. So, again, back to that a little bit. The other one is rhythm. And I love rhythm. I use all kinds of gadgets. I have my beat box right here. I have my drum beats on my application on my phone. I'll play Petrushka with a disco beat all day long. And the guys look at me like I'm completely nuts. But I can play that piece.
Mm-hmm.
And I had trouble. That's one of the pieces I had trouble with when I was an early grad student. Couldn't play the piece well. And then I think it was Mike Ewald. He threw it on his beatbox, put a disco beat on. I couldn't never get it fast enough. Never had a problem with it after that. It was just because I played in big bands and such that just changed my mind over. Just something flipped, and then I was able to play it. So anyway, rhythm, sight singing are very important. Intonation. Now, intonation. What I mean by that? Playing in tune. All I'm trying to get at is when I use a box, that to be in tune is the byproduct. I'm using in tune to find the center. That's an efficiency thing that you're talking about. When Mike Sachs introduced a lot of this to me, and man, that just changed the whole world. It changed everything. How the instrument flowed, how the air flowed through, how the sound would blossom, where the sound sounds best, obviously in the center, but just getting to that point and learning where the notes are on every horn. You know, that's hard thing. When I go try a trumpet, I'll play 3 or 4 scales and I know right away. Yep. It's not got anything to do with it.
When you try a trumpet, you don't find the double A.
Well, I mean, that's a nice little feature. Yeah. But honestly, I play a D, E, and E flat or an F scale, and I know immediately if this horn's any good. But because of the evenness of what I'm hearing, and my ear training as such, that I know, that note's that. I don't even have to look at the box. I know.
Sure.
It's not even a feel thing. It's just it's just how the sound develops. How it sounds. Truly. Sure. So you're never gonna find a trumpet that plays perfectly in tune, probably, but there's obviously the more expensive ones probably do. But we got to know where those problems are, and more importantly, how can we make them sound good out in the room. Projection is another one of my big things. I love, and of course you don't use that all the time, but in an orchestra you do. That sound's got to travel.
Even the softest soft,
it's got to travel.
Has to get out there.
Got to travel. So I think that way. You're here in my office right now. This is one reason you see where I'm at. My windows are wide open because this is confining to me. It's not a small office, but it's confining for a trumpet player. We think the guy in the back of the room.
Yeah.
So it's got to be that way. It's got to be that way.
Reese, this has been wonderful to sit and chat with you. Anything you want to add to this? Like any word of wisdom for
a younger guy, maybe?
Sure.
Stay the path. It's a long road. That's what I'll say. It's not an easy road. There's definitely been rocky areas of my career. There's been times when there's things I couldn't do at all, and I had to figure out why. And I question myself about this kind of things a lot, but I always knew what I wanted. To get where I'm at right now is taking a tremendous amount of perseverance and a tremendous amount of practice time and hard work. But just changing my mind about how to do it was a big one, I think. So I think that's one thing we think, well, he just gave me everything I need to know about playing the trumpet. No, I just gave you 30 minutes or however long we've been talking. It's not one package. There's so many facets.
Right.
And I think that's where you got the growth mindset. That's where it comes from. Being positive. That's the other thing too. We get really down. Trumpet is a very jealous instrument. It has to have it. I do take some time off occasion, but I don't take much off because of the demands I have. That's the thing. It's just you got to work hard.
Yeah.
You got to think.
Yeah.
Work hard.
Yeah. That's terrific. Thank you so much for your time today. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks, Larry.
Thank you again for listening to today's interview. I hope you enjoyed your time here, and please come back for more interviews. Be sure to share the news of this podcast with friends and colleagues and give me a rating on whatever platform you get your podcast from. Thanks again to Messina Covers for co-sponsoring this podcast. Don't forget that you too can be a supporter. Check out how at www.patreon.com/studioHFL. And one more reminder that you can sign up to receive news via email regarding new episodes, merchandise, and more by going to powellmusic.net and clicking on the subscribe to newsletter link. Thanks again for listening, and I hope you come back for more great interviews.